Well, everybody, welcome back to Stay at Home Girlfriends. This is Cam, and I'm here with Gabbie.
Hi.
And today on the Petite Pod, you might have noticed we're mixing up the schedule a little. We're in an experimental phase of the podcast, so we're trying different days and schedules and things like that. And also, this Petite Pod is going to be a Q&A because the Petite Pod can kind of be anything. Of course, we're going to stay true to our advice roots in lots of episodes, most episodes, many episodes. We will be covering advice and giving you guys advice. We really enjoy doing that. I'm loving the advice episodes, but we thought, let's mix it up on the Petite Pod. We can do anything. It's our podcast. So we're doing a Q&A, and sometimes the Petite Pod might be having a guest on to give advice like we've done, or having a guest on for a chat, or doing a deep dive, or just having a conversation about vampires. You never know. We're going to be doing a Q&A for this episode. Gabbie asked for y'all's questions. We got them from Instagram, and we're going to dive into them. But also, special announcement, exciting announcement. This is going to be our first video podcast episode. So those of you who keep saying, are you going to do a video podcast? When can we watch this on YouTube? We're doing it now. Okay. The time is now. And if you head on over to @StayAtHomeGirlfriends on YouTube, you will find our Stay at Home Girlfriends channel. We've uploaded some of our vlogs and like some of the shorts we've made to promote the pod. So that's all already over there. And yeah, you can watch this video of the podcast, listen and watch at the same time. What a delight. You'll see we're still doing this on Zoom right now. We are working on building a podcast studio in my house, and perhaps like a mobile one too, since we travel so much. But for now, it is just going to be Zoom. So if you're looking for like in the studio with Cam and Gabbie, it's coming, but it's going to take a little time, going to take a little work, going to take a little finances. So we're working on that podcast studio. But for now, we thought we'd try giving you guys a Zoom video episode. And if you love this, please jump in the comments on the Instagram post for this episode and let us know. Or jump in the comments on the YouTube episode and let us know how much you love it. And we'll make sure to try and keep bringing them to you at least some of the time, if not all the time. With all that exciting news out of the way, Gabbie, Q&A, let's go. What's the first question?
I'm so excited for this Q&A, but actually I did just want to say regarding the podcast little studio revamp that you're going to do, we are going to film that over on the Patreon. So if you are looking for updates on that, if you want to help us pick paint colors, chairs, everything that's going to go in the little podcast studio, head on over to the Patreon and you guys will be able to help us choose.
We can put up polls on Patreon and we can let people choose like the artwork. They can choose between a couple different like prints, or even maybe like there's a place where we can put all the patrons' names up in the background or something. We can definitely let the patrons get involved because it's the Patreon that's going to pay for the studio. So we definitely get everybody involved on Patreon. I love that idea.
Exactly. I love it too. I love it feeling like a community with you guys. But let's jump into the first question. Cam, this viewer wants to know what the best thing is about being in a relationship with a woman versus a man.
I mean, there's so many. It's hard, right? Because I'm just gay. So I'm like, women are hotter, women are sexier, women are more beautiful. But I think there is something very freeing. And let me just say, there's so many good guys out there. There are a lot of good guys out there that are not misogynistic, that sort of check their privilege and are a joy to be around. But like, there is something so freeing about connecting really intimately on a sexual and romantic level with someone who understands what it is to be a woman in this world and dealing with misogyny in this world, in this day and age, because misogyny makes the world go round to an extent. Like, it's the oldest, most ancient form of bigotry. It's been with us for forever. And, you know, all bigotry sucks, right? Let's say that. But it has a big effect on the world, in my opinion. And it's really, really, really freeing to just know that the woman you're with, she gets it too. I don't know. What do you think, Gabbie?
Yeah, that is such a good point, and something that I keep so highly treasured in a woman loving woman relationship. Personally, I have had relationships with men as well. And like you said, there are so many amazing men in the world. Maybe the ones that I've dated, I've just felt more uncomfortable with. I mean, probably because I am gay for starters. But when it comes to body issues and issues around periods, if you get periods, I find that a lot more accepting in a relationship with a woman. I feel like fluctuating weight looks so differently from women to men, and in woman loving woman relationships, I just find that I'm a lot less insecure because I feel like the woman also really understands on a deeper level than any man I've ever been with has understood, like how periods make you feel and how weight fluctuations can make you feel and just mood swings and things like that. I feel a lot more comfortable with women in that respect. And also, it's just so much fun to share clothes.
Yeah, sharing clothes is fun. And I like how you can do my makeup and stuff if I want to. And there's just, I mean, it's just so many things. And I imagine like gay men have a similar experience, like connecting with a person who has just been treated similarly by the world based on gender, right? I don't know. I joke about gay privilege, like lesbian privilege, because while there's a lot of great guys out there, misogyny can be a problem, and it can be a problem for like women who date men. Like if you're not dating the best guy, it can really get you into some trouble to the point where it can be dangerous for your life. I don't know. Can I share one freaky stat?
Yeah.
One freaky stat, kind of a sad stat, but just to sort of bring the point home, is like the highest risk to a pregnant person's body, a pregnant, and in particular like a pregnant woman who's dating a cis man, is that cis man.
Really?
That's the most likely thing to kill them.
What, out of just anger or?
I mean, that's just, it's domestic abuse gets involved. Like pregnant women are very vulnerable. Let's pull up the stat. Let's make sure we're saying this right. But
yeah, get the receipts out.
So this is from Harvard in 2022. Homicide was found to be the leading cause of death for pregnant women in the US.
Whoa, the leading cause. I would not expect that at all.
Yeah. So it's not like complications with their pregnancy or car accidents, which can be the leading cause of death in certain age groups that are like less younger age groups, right? You know, heart disease will start to catch up with you as you get older. But so the most likely thing to kill a pregnant woman is domestic violence from a male. And that's just a fact. That's a cold, hard fact. That's out of Harvard. Those are still rare cases, but it's far too many. Not all men, but far too many, right? Is a quote. Actually, somebody said that in Discord, I think. They may have been taking it from somebody else. That might be paraphrased from something, but like, not all men. But why is the leading cause of death of pregnant women and pregnant people the men in their lives?
That has actually shocked me a lot, that stat. Let's move on from that horrifying fact. I guess what you're trying to say is there is some gay privilege somewhere along the line, and that is one thing.
Yeah, I just like, if I ever got pregnant, I would not worry about Gabbie killing me ever. We can put it that way. It's great.
I hope you don't worry about that anyway.
Not usually.
Okay, so this is kind of a juicy one, and one that we have definitely spoken about that we haven't answered at all anywhere before. Would you ever get a tattoo for each other?
We've discussed it. Now we're like trying to decide what tattoos we should get and when.
I think we definitely want to get one, but we don't want it to be too reminiscent of each other. Like, I don't want to get your initial, you don't want to get my initial, at least until we're married. Maybe I would do that if we get married. But right now, there is a Taylor Swift themed tattoo that I want, and I am really trying to convince you to get it because it's just my love for Taylor Swift, but also my love for you. Although it is quite overdone. I really want to get a moon and Saturn, basically, because of the lyric, love you to the moon and to Saturn. That's one of my favorite lyrics. I think it's sweet. I think it's from one of her best songs, Seven, one of the gayest songs. And I would really like to get that, babe. Please convince her in the comments.
But can I just say, every gay girl has that tattoo. If we got that tattoo, we would not even be the first people in my community Discord to have that tattoo. I think somebody named Claire has that tattoo, actually.
It's like being part of a club.
No, I want, no. So I already have 2 tattoos and they're like, fine, whatever. One of them is actually kind of a personal story. I might share at some point, not now. And then the other, I just got to impress a girl, basically. Actually, I got both to impress girls, but like one is still more personal than the other.
Did it impress them?
No, I didn't end up with either of them. So no, let's say no. I would like to get a pawn because I'm really into chess these days. And I think the pawn is like actually the most interesting, potentially powerful player because it can turn into a queen, be promoted into a queen if you reach the other side of the board. So I want a pawn tattoo, and Gabbie could get something chess related if she wanted, and that could kind of be for each other. But also, if we got married, I would probably get your initials. Like, I wear this ring that has a G on it, and I wouldn't mind getting like a little G on my ring finger.
I think that's what I would do when we got married. I would get your initial on my finger as well, on the ring finger, just in case you ever don't wear your ring. It would be nice to look down and still see your initial there and be reminded that you have got a lover.
Yeah, so you don't forget and go start sleeping with everybody you see.
You know,
I'm just
that
saying.
is an issue I might have in life. I'm kidding.
Yeah, although would you get my real initial or would you get a C?
I think I would get your real initial. I
Yeah.
wear a necklace of your initial. Do I? Do I still have that necklace? No, it turned my neck green. I don't even wear that anymore, babe. I need a tattoo.
Get a neck tat of my initial. Lately, I feel like I need a neck tat.
Where has this come from?
I feel like I see like cool girls with like neck tats.
Okay, so what would you get? A portrait of me?
No.
Why?
I would never get I don't think I would ever get a portrait of you because it could go so wrong. And honestly, you're so beautiful. Like, why would I want to mar that with a tattoo that could go wrong? I don't know what I would get on my neck. Oh, one thing I would get for Gabbie would be a little British flag.
Oh, that's cute.
And then maybe it could say reclaim the land under it or something.
I am not getting an American flag.
No.
Sorry. I do kind of like the idea of you getting a pawn and me getting a queen, but I feel like that is too related to chess and not related enough to us. At least the moon and the Saturn, that is my favorite line. We met because of Taylor Swift. It just makes sense. Let us know in the comments what you think we should get, because we do want tattoos.
Yeah. Or you could get a Tennessee state flag. That's not as bad as America. And you love
I don't want to
Tennessee.
get a flag.
Okay. But like, what if it was like a deconstructed flag? Okay,
No.
we're not getting a flag. All right, guys. We want to know. Hit us up in the comments, please. What tattoos are we getting? You guys can decide. We'll do a poll on Patreon.
Do you know what we could get?
What?
Taxi cabs. Gabbie.
Oh yeah, that would be kind of cute. Like cute ones. You could get a little London one. I could get like a little New York City one.
Or we could get opposite. Like I get the America one, you get the London one.
Yeah. Oh, but I think the American one's cuter.
Okay, fine. I will get the London one. But that is a really sweet idea. Maybe we should get the taxi cabs. We will do a poll.
I also feel like we should do a poll on the Patreon at some point. We each just give up our right butt cheek. They choose the tattoos on there.
And maybe when we hit like 1 million patrons, I might give my right butt cheek up.
What about like 10,000?
Okay. If we ever hit 10,000 patrons.
We never will hit 10,000 patrons. But if we do, let's say it now. 10,000 patrons, you guys choose a right butt cheek tattoo for each of us.
Butt cheeks to the wind.
Anything you want.
It's up to you guys. If that isn't incentive enough to become a patron, I don't know what is.
Truly. What's our next question?
Our next question is actually aimed at me, so I'm asking myself a question.
Okay.
How do you handle missing Nelly when you're gone for so long? This is really hard for me. I miss Nelly every single day. I even miss him when I'm in the same house as him. Like if he's in a different room to me, I'm like, where has that cat gone? I miss him so much. Come and love me. I FaceTime my mom. She sends me pictures all the time. And that's basically how I deal with it. There isn't really another way that I can deal with it. I mean, he is my phone background right now. If you're watching this video, you can see it.
Why is it not me?
You know what? It was Nelly. And then you said, why is it not me? And then I changed it to you. But then I missed Nelly so much. And you're right here. Okay. So I just changed it back to Nelly.
All right. I know I come second in this relationship. It's okay.
But yeah, I miss him. There's not really anything that I can do about that other than get pictures and get videos and FaceTime and things like that. Hopefully, wherever we settle, even if that is in the US, if I'm here long term, he will come here with me and be with us. That is kind of the plan. But for right now, it's just the sucky part of life. I miss my little baby.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. This is actually an interesting one. I'm interested to hear your response. What big differences do you and Cam have in terms of growing up in the UK versus US? Is there anything after being in the UK that you think, oh my God, that is so different? The lack of pavements in the US really upsets me. I like to walk, and I think in our childhood, like we walked to school. We just walked on the pavement all the way there. I could walk to my high school, even though it was in a different town. I could walk all the way there on pavements. I don't think you would have been able to do that.
Not in my hometown, no.
So in that respect, I think it was kind of a healthier lifestyle to grow up in the UK just for that alone. What do you think?
I feel like where you grow up, like the big differences in Gabbie, I feel like is like we had different parents who parented us differently and like taught us. If there's something that comes down to like our nationality, I guess like the education system in the US is different. And it's actually really fucking annoying and useless. But in America, I mean, if you go to like college, university, like I did to get like a bachelor's degree. Sometimes it seems like a waste of time. Sometimes it's nice, but like it's very well rounded. You've got to take history, English, a foreign language, a science, a math. Even I studied business. I had to take geology as my science credit. I had to take an entire year, 2 semesters worth of geology classes and a geology lab that whole year as well, and like learn about rocks. Now, that's actually cool. It's a give and take, right? Because sometimes it seems like, okay, someone like Gabbie, like she needs to be studying musical theater and art. Like, you were never going to be a historian or a geologist in England. You kind of just pick your specialty if you know it and you study it, right?
Well, let me butt in. So during college, it really depends if you take A levels or if you go to college. So our school system, basically, you leave at 16 and you choose whether to go to college or not, or whether to stay at school and carry on with studies, but do A levels. Now, in the A levels, you pick 4 subjects, but that is all you have to do. And I think you can even ditch 1 or 2 of them. I didn't do A levels, so I don't know fully, but I do remember hearing people be like, yeah, I'm only doing 2 out of 4. But most of all, you can pick 4 subjects. And that is basically helping the students who don't know what they want to do narrow down what they want to do at university. So they can take the 4 things they're the most interested in. And then by the time they go on to their university studies, if they do that, they know more exactly what they want to do from those 4 choices. But the other option is college. At college, you can take 1 course. So I just took musical theatre and that was it. Like from 16 to 18, I didn't have any other lessons other than musical theatre. That's all I did. I turned up at college, I danced, I acted, I sung, and that was that. How it differs from America is you would have to pick your subject. So you would pick musical theatre, but you would also have to do maths, English, all of that stuff at the same time. It is like school carried on, kind of. And it's just wildly different in the UK. And I feel like there's 2 sides of the coin to that. You know a lot more general knowledge and a lot more. See, I can't even think of the word to explain this. I am educated, but not to the level that Cam is. You know a lot of words because you did English for long. You know more maths than I do. You just know a lot more things than I do. And it is something that I struggle with. Sometimes I feel really thick because I know musical theatre so well, but I don't know anything else. Whereas you can talk about pretty much any subject and have knowledge in any of them. And it is very different.
Yeah, and that's also just because I'm like a curious little fuck and I spend a lot of time Googling things I'm curious about. But yeah, I would say if there's like a big difference to me, it is like the education system. England is like, figure out what you're interested in and go study it. America is like, you better know everything about everything or you're a piece of shit, is what it kind of feels like. I do enjoy like being able to carry on conversations about diverse set of topics, but I also feel like who would I be if I could have focused on my passions and even figured out what my passions were? Because it turns out like building community and like podcasting, like radio broadcasting, like content creation, like this vibe, what I'm doing now is my absolute dream. I love it. Writing to an extent because sometimes I write my podcast episodes and I write my blog, managing and building a community and talking, telling stories and carrying on conversations. I love it. And I wish I had even been given the space to like explore that, but instead I was too busy learning calculus and geology, and it just feels like it's give and take. But I think that could be a really big difference in how our like formative years were.
Yeah, it's definitely hit or miss with our education systems. There are pros and cons to both. Sometimes I just feel so stupid talking to you though, and it makes me feel like a little bit insecure, but maybe that is because I'm not as curious as you as well. Maybe that's just down to our personalities. You heavily research like a lot of things that you're interested in. If I have an interest, I'm just like, I like that. That's cool. I don't really delve massively into it.
Well, for the record, I don't think you're stupid.
Thank you. Right, let's move on to a question that relates to my college experience, shall we? What is your favorite musical at the moment? Cam, do you have one?
I guess Parade that we saw.
I think you like Six, don't you?
No, I just like Henry VIII because that's one of the things I studied in school. I wrote a paper on Henry VIII. and I'm kind of obsessed with him. The Tudor dynasty is very interesting. We'll have to do a podcast episode on it at some point, but maybe.
So you just like the idea of Six. You haven't actually heard the songs or
Yeah, I've just seen like TikToks about it and been like, that's about Henry VIII. As far as like the music goes, I don't know how good it is, but
well, one of my friends, Hannah Lowther, has actually just been cast in Six, so we should go see her.
Yeah, very cool.
And she should come on the pod. Hannah, if you're watching this, come on the pod. You are so talented. My favorite musical right now and forever and always will be Les Mis, and that will just always be my answer. No musical comes on top of that. It just doesn't. That is the love of my life. I would give everything to be cast in that one day, even though I'm putting zero effort towards that, which is my bad and something that I need to start doing. But yeah, Les Mis will always be my favorite. However, my mug right now, if you're watching this visually, says stay Wicked. And I have to shout out Wicked. I'm excited for the film. Love the show. Amazing. Wicked is high up there for me.
Wicked is high up there for me. And if you want my first love of musicals, because I like musicals too, my sister was kind of a lot like Gabbie. She was a theater girl. Although briefly, like about the education system, it was so hard for her because she was an incredibly talented singer and really passionate about theater history, art, acting, dance, all those things. And she would like get mired down in these fucking math classes that it just didn't come naturally to her. It wasn't her interest. And she would spend school was really hard for her because she wasn't allowed to specialize. So my sister though studied musical theater and was in musical theater. And so I have like an appreciation for it. And I love Phantom of the Opera.
We need to go see that live.
Oh, if you want to see me freak out.
Actually, one of my other friends, Dave, is currently in Phantom of the Opera. We need to go and see that as well. Yeah. Babe, you need to come back to London.
I'm working on it.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. This is just another casual, quick one before we get into the juicy stuff. Is there a theme to Cam's place? Looking forward to decorating videos. If you didn't know, Cam, do you want to take this story away of why we're back here or why you're back here?
Yeah, so I've owned this house since 2015, but I left to an extent in 2018 to like go hike the Appalachian Trail, came back for a while, COVID hit, left again, was back, left again, got some tenants in. I rented out when I'm not here. So had some tenants in. The tenants moved out earlier than expected. And I was kind of like, why don't I just move back in? Gabbie and I have been like traveling around and she really liked Nashville. She'd seen the house before, and so I thought, well, maybe it's time for me to just come back and move in more permanently. I've been traveling so much, it did make sense to like not rent it out. But now that I'm back, we're getting it refurnished and getting it up to Gabbie's standard of fabulousness, Gabbulessness, if you will. And it's great. I'm happy to be home. And if there was going to be a theme right now, I feel like this is going to develop, but mushrooms.
Mushrooms cannot be the theme of the whole house.
We have like a lot of mushroom things.
We have one mushroom doormat.
And a mushroom
mug.
And a mushroom mug.
And a mushroom lamp.
And a mushroom lamp. I'm telling you, the theme of the house right now is mushrooms.
And a pet yard cat called Salem Mushroom.
Okay. We're not calling him Mushroom.
That's his middle name.
Fine.
It was a compromise.
Fine. We have a cat that we're trying to get some help to and feed and stuff. And his middle name is Mushroom, apparently.
So I guess the theme of the house is mushroom, but beyond that, if you want an actual theme, this house is kind of vintage vibes. It actually reminds me a lot of all of the Brighton flats that I've had. The windows are really big and gorgeous, like gorgeous sash windows. So I want to go with this theme in your house. I think we should go with a bit like mid-century modern 70s vibes mixed with vintage.
I feel like that's just what your flat is though.
Because it reminds me a lot of my flat, and you have to go with the vibe of the house.
I feel like it's less of a 70s vibe, more of a vintage, like 50s vibe.
It's definitely leaning more vintage than mid-century, but I do see us getting like a mid-century set of drawers or a mid-century bed frame or something like that. I think it will be a mix.
We'll see. I want it to be like 50s vibes.
Okay, well, now that I know that, it is not going to be 50s vibes because 50s is very, very colourful and like bold colours.
Like red.
Oh, no.
A
It's
big
like
red.
diner vibes. 50s
Yeah.
is diner vibes.
Yeah. I want to live in a diner.
Look at me grimacing. We will see how the theme evolves, but I'm having so much fun decorating this place. It's one of my passions in life. Okay, moving on to something a little bit more deep. I have had a lot of questions along this line. Let me read you a couple. What's going on with your stomach? I'm having a lot of problems as well with mine. I don't want to be invasive at all, but how did you lose and keep off this weight? Genuine, no hate. If you have a bad stomach, why aren't you eating a healthier diet? FODMAP, etc. So this is something that I feel like I should address on some sort of platform. I mean, in our vlogs, I'm constantly saying, I've got stomach issue right now, but I've never really right into it. I think I've put out half of the story online, but recently I found out what the actual problem is, and that hasn't been addressed. So let's address it right now. Basically, last year in August, I had a big internal bleed. I was in hospital for 10 days, but they never found out what caused that bleed. So I was just sent home with the A-OK basically, and told if anything happened again to come back to hospital. And nothing happened between August and January. But in January of this year, I had another big internal bleed, was again in hospital for 10 days. I would say on death's door. I wasn't with you at the time, was I? I was actually in Madrid because I'd had a surgery, but it wasn't anything to do with that. It just so happened to happen at the same time. First of all, how did you feel about that situation? Because you weren't actually with me when that happened, and it was the first time you ever spoke to my mom.
Oh, it was terrifying. So we were FaceTiming. You were recovering from your surgery. The surgery had gone really well. You seemed fine. And then you lost your vision. This is like a couple days after the surgery. And you went blind while we were on FaceTime. And the last thing I had you do was send me your mom's phone number.
Basically, at the same time as that happening, I was just throwing up pure blood. Yeah, so I got taken into intensive care, and it turned out I had another massive bleed. I ended up having 6 blood transfusions and a plasma transfusion. Still yet to know what that is. I need to do my research, really. But it turned out that I had a stomach ulcer, and that is what caused the bleed. And we're assuming that is what caused the bleed the first time as well. But by the time I had the endoscopy after that, it had cleared itself up. So that was never found. But due to these bleeds and these stomach ulcers that I had, the way that the ulcers healed have closed off a section of my stomach. I'm finding it very difficult to eat anything right now, hence the drastic weight loss. And it's not something that I would wish upon anybody, honestly. It's been a shit way to live, to put it bluntly. I have no energy any of the time because I can't eat enough food. I'm tired. My hair's fallen out. It's just not a fun way to live. But I have had a scan recently and had the results of that. And let me read what it is actually called that I've got.
Yeah. So for the listener, the scar tissue from these severe ulcers healing has shrunk her stomach because the scar tissue takes up room, right? It's like, think of the scar tissue that you have, like if your skin scars over, it's like raised and bumped. Well, that's happening in her stomach. So she has way less room to eat food. So it's not a matter of like, FODMAP, like that's a type of food, onions, garlics. I actually know a tiny bit about it because an influencer that I watch has SIBO, which is a bacterial overgrowth in your gut that's caused by FODMAPs. Gabbie doesn't have SIBO. So like a low FODMAP diet, it might be something to consider because like having a smaller stomach, like high FODMAP foods are harder to digest. But like Gabbie doesn't have like SIBO or something like that. She has a physically smaller stomach. It's almost like nature's weight loss surgery, to speak about it sort of loosely and non-scientifically. Like your stomach has been shrunk by these ulcers, but luckily there's a treatment for it. And I think Gabbie is going to share a little bit more about that now.
So I've actually got a procedure booked in early October, which is why I'm going to be heading back to the UK, called an esophageal dilation, which is where they basically do an endoscopy, which is where they put a pipe down your throat. And at the end of that endoscopy, there's going to be a balloon. And what they do is they pump up that balloon, and they're basically trying to create space back in my stomach from where the scar tissue has been. So that is the procedure that I've got to have. But that is basically why I've lost weight and why I have stomach issues. The reason why I haven't been eating healthy, it's because I am struggling so hard to eat anything that I just have to eat what I can. And the things that I'm trying to eat are high calorie things. So like croissants, they're very high calorie. Things like that where I might only be able to eat a tiny bit of it, but at least I'm having as many calories as I can in that one go. If I just went completely to eating fruits and vegetables and eating super duper healthy, I would not be getting anywhere near enough calories that I need. And I don't think I personally am anyway right now. But I'm just taking what I can get and eating what I can. And it's frustrating, but it is what it is. And hopefully I'm going to be on the mend soon.
Yeah. So it's not a matter of, well, you should just eat healthier foods, because one of
Yeah.
the issues is like high protein foods and high fiber foods. Let's not moralize food too much or anything, but are on the more nutritious end of things. You can't digest. Like you can't eat a pile of broccoli. You can't eat chicken breast.
No.
You can eat processed chicken nuggets. They go down easier. They, they're already kind of chewed up by the food processors and put back together, and they go down easier. She can eat crisps. They're melty. They just melt into her stomach. But like she can't eat almost anything. So it's like you see her eating junk. Well, first of all, she's taking like 3 bites of it, and that's like her whole meal. And that's not a good thing, right? We're not glorifying that. It's just the only thing that she can eat right now. But also, we are trying to supplement. I've got her drinking protein shakes. So she tries and has at least one of those a day, maybe 2 if it's a lower eating day. And she is just doing the best she can. I don't know. We find ourselves in like an interesting position, right? Because you have made some like eating and at different points in time, like even dieting and weight issues and weight loss surgery and different diets part of your brand. And so you can't really blame people for like commenting and being curious, like, oh, why do you eat that way? I saw you in another video, you were trying to eat healthy, or you have stomach problems, like you've been public about that. So why would you eat processed chicken nuggets? That's not good for your stomach. And it might not be good for some people's stomachs, but like I said, like that will go down for Gabbie. So that's a win. But like, do you like regret these days being so open around food and weight things?
In a way, yes. Let me rephrase that. In a way, massively yes. But in a way, also no. This is a very contradicting answer. I think I've always tried to be honest with my audience, and that's something that I massively pride myself with trying to show my life as it is. I mean, I don't often include other people in my vlogs and stuff anymore. So I do keep part of that private. But when it comes to me, if I'm struggling with something, generally it is just easier to talk about it, and it's easier to just let people know that I'm struggling and to maybe give me a little bit of grace in that moment. But at the same time, the reason why I say it's also counteracted with a no is because I do find it a little bit triggering when I get comments from people commenting so deeply on my food. I can't post anything to do with food without getting comments on it now. And in part, it is my fault for sharing so much about it and kind of inviting that narrative, but it also sucks. And at the minute, the thing that I think I'm struggling the most with is people are so lovely, and they mean it in the nicest possible way. But I am getting so many comments about how great I look since I've lost weight. And that is hard to deal with because I have lost weight for such a shit reason. And it has affected my health, my mental health. It affects me every single day of my life. I have to sleep for 1,000,000 hours to even feel remotely normal. I am just exhausted. And obviously, I'm getting hardly any food. Obviously, I'm going to feel like that. But to have so many people say how amazing I look because of this health condition that is ruining my life at the minute, it sucks. And I do worry about what's going to happen when my stomach gets fixed and inevitably I put a bit of weight back on. I know that that is going to invite people to comment on my body again, and I'm already anxious about that. So yes, I do regret it in some respects, but also no, because I do value honesty with my audience. It's a really tricky one to answer and to talk about. It's such a triggering subject, and everyone has their own opinions, but it just is what it is right now. I'm doing my best.
Yeah, I think it's probably confusing for some people, because for a long time you were like daily vlogging on your diet, like whatever,
Yeah.
Slimming World or whatever it's called. Like, And so that certainly that invites, like, this is the content you're putting out, and you always want comments on content. So that invites like comments on your food and stuff. And so you can't really, I mean, some people are just downright nasty, but people like these questions, you can't really blame them for being curious or checking in and being like, why aren't you eating healthy? You have this mission to eat healthy. You're not eating healthy. But it's sort of like, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because it's nice to be honest with your audience. And that gives other people like hope, like, oh, Gabbie struggles with food issues. I struggle with food issues. Like, okay, that's nice. You can build a bit of community around it. But it's also hard because then it invites comments when maybe you're really not in that phase of your life anymore. I don't think you're really interested in restrictive dieting anymore. I think you're interested in following a healthy diet once your stomach is going to allow you to, as most people are. I think the slimming world phase and whatnot is over. It's just tough. I see it happen to you, and I don't envy you, because if I could give a bit of advice, it's not an advice episode, but if I could give it a bit of advice, if somebody is not asking for feedback on the type of food they eat, don't give them any, like on social media, or just don't, even if you mean well, even, if they're not saying like, what do you guys think? Is this meal healthy or not? Or like whatever, they probably just don't need it from you.
And that also goes for comments on people's bodies as well. There is just no need to do it. You don't know what that person's going through. Even if you do think they look amazing because they've lost weight or they've gained weight and they're just looking different and you think that's a good different, please don't comment any weight related comments on their pictures, because you just don't know what people are going through. And it is a bit of a mind fuck for me right now, something that I'm struggling with, but it is what it is. And I kind of have also invited it on by posting so much about my body and about my weight loss and things like that. So yeah, definitely a double-edged sword, but hopefully you guys understand a little bit more and will maybe have a little less questioning to do about the whole topic.
Long story short, she is doing the best that she can. But right now, if she can eat something, she needs to eat it. She continues to lose weight. Not to get too triggering or detailed about it, but like she's still losing weight, and she's already lost a ton. She's like, right. So if she can eat it, she needs to eat it. Let's have a lighthearted question about food, because while we're not doing the slimming world BS anymore, and hopefully we're not commenting on bodies too much or any of that, we still love food, and food makes for really fun content. So we're going to do taste tests still. Like, we're going to go out to dinner and show you guys what we had. All that said, here's a question. What is your favorite salty snack at the time? And what is your favorite sweet snack at the time?
I have actually just discovered my new favorite salty snack. It's more just a savory snack. In the US, they have boxes of butter popcorn that you pop in the microwave. I feel like in the UK, we have salty, we have sweet, and then we have salty and sweet, but I haven't seen butter popcorn. And it is my new thing. But specifically, I have this little shaky flavoring to go on it in white cheddar. So the buttery popcorn from the microwave with the white cheddar on it, sublime, amazing. Like genuinely gonna bring the cheddar shake and the butter popcorn back to the UK when I go to the UK, because it is a 10 out of 10 delicious. That is my favorite salty treat. But my favorite sweet one, I don't actually have with me. They are granola balls from Costco. I will try and leave the brand of them in the down bar of the YouTube video if you guys are watching that. But they're just these little granola balls that come in a multi-pack of just chocolate chip flavor and raisin flavor, and they are delicious. Seriously, so good. Such a good little snack. If you are in the US and you can find them, get them. They are so good. But what about you?
Mine is something from Trader Joe's. Shout out to Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's, sponsor us. We love you. They are called Snacky Clusters, and they are both salty and sweet. And I am obsessed with these. They are little bits of potato chips, like Frito corn chip vibe, and pretzel nuggets all mushed up. So I think it's actually, they're using like the broken ones from the factory that didn't make like the final cut, which I like. That's like recycling. I don't know if they actually did that, but that's what it feels like. And covered in milk chocolate. And it is the most delicious thing I have ever tasted in my life. And it is both salty and sweet. And here's a picture. if you're watching on, I don't know if you can see that. And if you want to say that's more sweet leaning because it's covered in chocolate, fine. The Buc-ee's white cheddar corn nuggets, beaver nuggets, whatever they're called. Those were insane as well.
Those were so good. I remember you eating those and being like, this is the best thing I've ever put in my mouth. But now you're saying that about these snacky clusters. Make your mind up. Which is the best?
Every time you eat, you say this is the best thing I've ever eaten. Every time.
Okay, valid. I'll let you off. Right, let's do one more question. I feel like this episode is longer than we expected it to be. So you are welcome, listeners, for that. It was only meant to be a quick 30-minute petite pod. Do you have any Paris recommendations? Yeah, let's list off our top 3 favorite things that we did in Paris for people who are going to Paris.
My top 3 favorite was going to Angelina's for brunch, the Louvre, and probably that walk we took around the Sacré-Cœur. Go up to the Sacré-Cœur and walk around.
Yeah, that was really fun. That area was really fun as well. It was very touristy, but I love going in little touristy shops and looking at all the postcards and the magnets and stuff. That shit gets me. I would say definitely go to the Louvre. That is the most gorgeous building. But if you can, maybe do it 2 days in a row, because we did not even explore half of the Louvre. We need to go back so badly, but such a gorgeous experience and a gorgeous building. Angelina's was great as well. Are we just going to have the same top 3? Maybe we are. Oh, do you remember what that bar was called where we first played chess? Because I loved that bar. That was such a great spot.
Scandal.
Okay, go to Scandal. They had board games for you to play, and it was just a great vibe. And they were open quite late as well. So that is a good place to go. It's near the Moulin Rouge if you want in a spot to go to before or after that.
Yeah, they had a cool basement with like just total hangout vibes. And then they had all these chess boards where you could play, and it was great.
Loved Paris. Can't wait to go back. But that is the end of today's little episode. Let us know if you liked this Q&A and if you would like more of these Q&As featured as a petite pod in the future. We absolutely love doing these. It's so fun just getting to answer all of your questions.
We love a Q&A. We'll probably do one, certainly on the Patreon, like once a month if people want them, if the questions keep coming, or pretty frequently because they're fun for us and you guys seem to like them. So happy to do a Q&A anytime.
Our next episode will be back to our usual advice podcast, so look forward to that. But if you guys can't resist us and just want more content by us, feel free to check out our Patreon, The Secret Society, over on Patreon. We are creating such a lovely little community over there. It's become my happy place. I love it. And I can't wait to keep producing really great content for you. We are putting up an extra video vlog this week that won't be on YouTube. What else are we putting on there this week?
Well, this is not being put on there this week, but if they like Q&As, they should absolutely join the Patreon, because we did our most TMI Q&A, all the sex questions we got into that was our first bonus episode on the Patreon. So head on over to Stay at Home Girlfriends on Patreon and check that out. And let me just say, as for the advice podcast coming up, it's my favorite so far. It should be out Tuesday, and there's going to be a video of it as well. The questions were fucking juicy. One girl is like fucking her boss. Somebody else, they think they caught their boyfriend doing something scandalous on Instagram, but did they or not? Another one is like, she just had a baby with this guy. She's already considering leaving him. Like, there's so much going on. It's my favorite episode we've done thus far. So get excited for that.
It was also my favorite. I can't wait to hear the finished result. I love listening to our podcast back. I'm like that little nerdy person who saves them and plays them back. But yeah, we're going to head off. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to follow us on socials. We are Stay at Home Girlfriends on TikTok and Stay at Home Girlfriends Pod on Instagram. Feel free to submit more questions through the link in our Instagram bio on the Google Doc. Make sure, if you are listening right now and you would like to see video versions of the podcast, head over to our YouTube channel. That will also be linked in the Instagram bio. And we will bid you farewell.
And remember, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, is deserving of your own love and affection.
Ain't that the truth? Bye.
Bye, everybody.